Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that when you niche down and you find who your ideal client is, it's amazing how much that people will reach out to you inside that niche. Because the thing is that, I would love to serve the world, but I can't. That's part of the reason why I'm doing the podcast. I'm trying to reach as many people as I can, and it's crazy. I mean, I've got a following in India and also in Australia, which is, I find, ridiculously crazy. But in both these two countries, they have picked up on something about what I'm giving folks, and I've got a nice little following in both countries, and it's pretty interesting because when I started this, I was just like, yeah, my friends and family are going to listen to a little bit of it, and that's about it. But it turned out to be a little more than what I bargained for, which is a great thing, because I think I got the same thing you. I got a servant heart. I want to serve more people. I want to impact more people's lives. But I just think it's pretty cool that you came from a servant heart, and now you've got a business out of it because people value what you have to give.
I mean, I appreciate that, John. It's awfully humble of you. I mean, I think the difference in both of us is you are already a seasoned entrepreneur. I mean, we had a conversation prior to this. I mean, you're absolutely crushing it in business, and you have 2 decades of experience. So by the time you started your podcast, people want to hear from you. I think the difference with me was I was kind of a nobody before I started making content. I didn't really have a business. I had gotten a corporate job. So I definitely had a lot of insecurity and limiting beliefs around my content. I think it's really, to your point, because I niched down only on communication and put all of my focus on that lane. So I never talk about business coaching or any of that stuff that I know a lot about. That's what really developed my expertise in this area and credibility, frankly, over time.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I've niched down in my business coaching to where I only take on maybe, I don't know, a half dozen to 10 clients a year total. And it is business owners in retail that want to expand into multiple locations. That's my niche. And the thing is that these folks are willing to pay really good money for this information because, when we were off the podcast beforehand, as we were talking, I went from one UPS store location that I had in 2011, and by November 1st of 2014, I had 11 locations. That's crazy growth in a crazy short amount of time. I had to redo my business model like 4 or 5 times in that time frame, and figure out, and here's the other thing about it. It's not like these stores are close by. I've got stores in Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, how about this? I've got stores that are, if you were to drive from one location to the other location, it would take you 6 hours.
Wow.
And so the thing is that I had to learn something different, right? And the thing that I love about what you're doing is that people don't realize how important communication is in our life and how to do it effectively. I mean, I am not the world's greatest public speaker, but I was telling you earlier that there was one of my favorite classes I had in college. I mean, I made an A in public speaking because I just like to talk. I think for me, Brenden, is that I like to hear myself talk. I like to hear my own voice, which is kind of crazy. And
it's a good voice.
Thanks. I appreciate that. But it's kind of funny is that, my wife tells me all the time, can you just be quiet just a little bit? Are you just talking to hear yourself talk? And sometimes it may be, yeah, a little bit. So talk to me a little bit more, because I'm really interested in this whole competition stuff that you did in college about presentations, because I find that wildly fascinating.
You're definitely in the minority, John. So I'll explain this in the best possible way to make it interesting remotely. So I didn't know what these things were either when I was in business school. Basically what had happened is I was a 19-year-old kid. I had a suit from prom because I couldn't afford anything better because my parents were factory workers. And I knew nobody in the business world. But I really wanted a job in corporate. I didn't go to business school to be an entrepreneur. it was entirely by accident that MasterTalk started. So I go to these networking cocktails. I meet people who are older than me who have all these jobs at PricewaterhouseCoopers and Deloitte and IBM and McKinsey and Amazon, and I was like, "How did you get the job?" And they all answered something that I didn't understand because I thought they were going to say study well, good grades, and they all just said two words: case competitions. And I was like, "What's a case competition?" And what I found out later, John, is that a case competition is, think of it like a sports draft, like for the NBA or the NFL, where talent scouts go to Division I schools and they recruit the best talent for their teams. It's the same thing, but for corporate jobs for future executives. So let's say Nike comes in and sponsors a case. They say, "Okay, John, I'm releasing this new shoe. Where should I sell the shoe? Should I sell it in Michigan first, or should I sell it in New York City first, and why?" So students would have 3 hours to come together, John, with a solution, and they would present that solution. Keep in mind, these are 20-year-old kids. Solutions to the actual executives of Nike. So when they're sitting there, they go, "I like this kid, I like this kid, I like this kid," and they start giving job offers to these students, and that's how the